Story 1. The same place is where I stand on camping. People seem to enjoy it, and I'm happy for them, but everything about it sounds miserable to me. No thanks. Story 2. I feel that it is not just about the children but about the person you choose to have them with. I have a fear that I will never meet a man who will be a good husband and father as well. Story 3. If you cannot imagine putting someone else first in your life, do not do it. Honestly, if you think you could sleep in and not take them to school, or if you believe you would continue to make unhealthy meals just because you do not want to cook, or if you feel that the school system is entirely responsible for educating your child, do not do it. Story 4. I wanted to be married to her specifically more than I wanted children, but my wife did not share the same desire. That situation felt like a two yeses kind of thing. Story 5. I learned at a young age that I don't think I'm fit to be a parent. I love my nieces and nephews, and I worked in the daycare and babysitting business for years. So, it's not that I think I would be a bad parent. It's that I don't believe my mental health can handle it. Pregnancy is a fear of mine, and I worry about how hard it will be on me and my fiancé. We've talked about adopting, but I have said since I was about 4 or 5 that I don't want children of my own. This would be a significant decision that I don't see us making at this point in our lives. The career I'm studying for and my fiancé's career are both very demanding, and I think I'm too selfish to sacrifice that. I don't want to be absent parents. My fiancé has known me since we were both 13, and we have shared the same beliefs. There is still time to change our minds. Maybe in 5 years I will feel differently and be ready, but as of now, I don't think it's in the cards. Story 6. I wanted to have children, but after spending 1 week at my sister's house with my niece and nephew, I felt overwhelmed. No thanks, I would rather spend my money on food and vacations. Story 7. I wanted kids until I saw how much work my sister put into being a mother, and I realized I am too lazy, impulsive, and irresponsible to take care of myself, let alone little defenseless children. Story 8. Where do I stand on having children? Somewhere between, look at that tiny sock, and, I just saw a toddler lick a subway pole. 1 minute, I'm like, yes, let's create life and teach it to love. The next, I'm searching for how much a vasectomy costs and if it comes with free ice cream. I love children when they belong to someone else. I have had 8 hours of sleep, and there's a solid exit strategy. So yes, I stand at a safe distance with snacks, earplugs, and possibly hiding behind a houseplant. Story 9. I am definitely looking forward to having children playing around while I cook their favorite meals. The feeling of having a family is something I want to enjoy. Story 10. I home-cooked 3 meals and have had about 6 as takeout since we are also a foster family. If having kids is a bad idea, I am all in. The ground rules we agreed on when we started fostering were no babies and no adoption. We were just going to help kids having the worst day of their short lives. However, we ended up with a baby and are probably going to adopt. So much for plans. Story 11. I have 2 children. I love them, but I don't want any more. I completely understand why some people choose to be child-free. Raising children is incredibly difficult, and it is not for everyone. Story 12. Too expensive, and I don't want to spend a decade or more being constantly ill because of those carriers. Story 13. I have never considered having children. Hearing kids throw tantrums in public is off-putting. The world is becoming increasingly challenging, and I would not want to bring someone into it involuntarily. Adopting a teenager would be more appealing to me, if anything. We are dual income and child-free, able to buy our first home in our early 20s and travel whenever we please. Truthfully, I do not want the responsibility or burden of raising a child. I enjoy having nieces and nephews so I can have the kid, and then return them at the end of the day, enjoying weekend trips and vacations with them without any responsibilities. I do not dislike children. If a child were to come into my care due to tragedy or if they needed a safe place to live, I would drop everything and step up to the role without hesitation and be the best parental figure I could be. However, I have never wanted to be a parent intentionally, aside from being a pet parent to many. Story 14, we wanted them, but it didn't happen. The older I get, the less I regret it. I don't have the patience to be around loud children. Story 15. If you want children, you should be physically, financially, mentally, and emotionally ready for them. If you do not want children, just embrace being the fun, wealthy relative. As long as you are happy with your decision, no one has the right to complain, although I know people judge regardless. Story 16. I have children, but I think if I could go back and do it again, I would choose not to have children, or maybe I'd only have one. I love my children, and I'm not saying that because they're difficult. I am also very fortunate to be in a situation where I can provide a good life for them. I can't give them everything, but that's okay. Still, the world is facing many challenges, and I worry for their future. Story 17. I want my life to be as easy as possible. I am not afraid to admit that. Children would bring more challenges than I want to deal with, so I will not have them. Some may call me selfish, but I believe it would be more selfish to bring children into a world I am not completely certain I want. There are many children in my life whom I love. I have 2 amazing nephews who light up my world, and I don't want to put my body and mind through having kids of my own. Story 18. I am not going to have children. I do not want to bring life into the world when things are so bad. Besides, there is no one I would want to have children with. Additionally, I do not want to risk passing down a genetic condition I have. It causes non-cancerous lumps to form on my body. It is called neurofibromatosis. Mine seems to be a mild case, but I would not want to risk my child inheriting it and having a severe case. Story 19. As a concerned parent, let me just say that if you are not completely devoted to the idea of having children, you should reconsider having them. Story 20. I feel like the financial climate is making it impossible. Additionally, my landlord is now selling the house I am living in, which certainly doesn't help. Story 21. I have a condition that requires me to stay on birth control for my mental well-being. Even a few months without it could lead to a downward spiral, so I cannot take that risk. Additionally, I have multiple genetic disorders in my family, including one that remains unidentified. I would love to adopt, but I also have fears of becoming like my mother. Story 22. I do not want any. I am glad that some people do, but I am not one of them. I also believe that some people do not deserve them. If they have them, they need to raise them properly. Personally, I find them unpleasant and irritating. I cannot stand them, and when I appear to, I am usually pretending. Story 23. I have 2 children. Parenting is challenging and not for everyone, and I fully support individual choices. For me, having children is incredibly enjoyable and rewarding, and I cannot imagine life without them. Studying childhood development and the human mind to raise great kids has also provided many benefits for my personal growth and my roles as a friend, family member, coworker, and leader. I truly love being a father. Story 24. I'm not having children. I don't want to put my body through that. Kids are fine when I can return them to their parents and enjoy my peace and quiet at home. Story 25. No, thank you. I had to raise my parents. I also grew up with my mom doing daycare at home. I raised enough kids. Story 26. After seeing my friends who are parents, I have a strong stance on never having children. Both friends have drastically changed, and yes, I understand that you're supposed to change when you become a parent, but I can visibly see the physical and emotional wear and tear on them. They are more irritable, restricted, exhausted, and seem dead inside. They give so much of themselves, and even then, their children keep taking from them, even when they are running on empty. I value sleep. I value free time. I enjoy the ability to stand up and say, I'm going to the store, without it turning into a battle over putting on coats and shoes for a child with the emotional and physical capacity of an overcooked noodle. I cherish my freedom. Life is too short to be tied down to someone who depends on you for 18 or more years. As a 32-year-old widow, I admit my perspective is slightly biased. Story 27. I don't have any and I don't want any. Everyone else can do whatever they want as long as they take care of and raise them properly. Story 28. I dislike children, but I never wanted them. They can be annoying. However, I do like my nephews. They are good kids. Story 29. I am very glad I decided to have them. They are adults now, And watching them become productive individuals of good character makes me feel fulfilled as the professional world finds less and less value in me. Story 30. I wanted them, so I had them. For me, this was absolutely the right choice. I also believe that parents who cannot understand why someone would not want to have children are either being dishonest or misguided. Story 31. First, I would require a partner for this because I will not parent alone. Second, I do not have any interest in bringing a child into this difficult world where I cannot provide them with a better life than I had. Story 32. I want to be a mom, but I live in the United States. I think I'm at a point where I would be content if I didn't have any children. Story 33. If people want to have children, then go for it. I never did and, at nearly 50, never will. Do not criticize me for my choice, as I have my reasons, and I do not buy into the notion of dying alone. Having children does not guarantee that won't happen anyway. I am content with my choice, and I will not criticize those who do want or already have children. Story 34. Do not want children and never have. At the same time, if you want them, I will fully support you in that. Everyone gets to make their own decisions, and as long as you do not preach at other people, I will support you in your choice. That being said, if having children is not an overwhelming and definitive yes, it should be a no until that statement is true. You should be in a position to give any child the best chance at life possible. I think many people have children because it is the default and what is expected. Many children suffer because their parents are not mentally, physically, or financially in a good position to handle the responsibility of raising kids. There is much more to consider when deciding whether or not to have children than just desire. Is your partner going to be an equal parent? Are you both mentally healthy enough to raise well-rounded human beings without passing on or creating trauma? Are you truly a good fit as a couple? Or are you considering children as a way to salvage the relationship? Please do not do this. It never works. Do you have the stability in your home and finances to provide a child with the healthy life they deserve? Can you create a stable, loving home for a child to grow up and develop in? Can you financially afford to care for them and ensure a good quality of life? We ask these questions about getting a dog. Can you afford housing for it and yourself? Can you afford to feed it? Can you manage the veterinary bills that may arise? Do you have the time and mental space to provide for its training, exercise, and mental needs? Do you have a fenced yard? Can you care for it for its expected lifespan? Those same questions, and even more, should be asked of you, your partner, and your foreseeable situation. Story 35. As a child, I always wanted a big family with many children. Last month, I conducted thorough research on pregnancy and the various processes that occur in a woman's body because I experienced a desire for babies and even shared this with my boyfriend. However, the research changed my perspective, and now I am unsure if I want to have children naturally. My boyfriend believes I should have approached the experience without prior knowledge, which I consider careless. Many people desire children because they are adorable and to carry on the family name, but they often overlook the significant responsibility involved. From the moment you have a child, you become a second priority to yourself. Your child becomes your main focus. Story 36. I feel too lazy and selfish to be a parent. I like the idea of having children, but I know myself and understand that I wouldn't be good at it, no matter how much I would want to be. I look forward to being the fun aunt to my friends' children. I already have gift ideas and plans for outings. Story 37. I was against having children until I hit my 30s. I had my child in my mid-30s, and it's the best thing I've ever done. I wish I had more than one. Honestly, children are underrated these days. They bring so much fun, laughter, games, hikes, traveling, and enjoyable times baking and cooking. We have had great moments with our pets, and now our child is a talented musician with a fantastic sense of humor. Of course, it's a lot of work. So is marriage, and so are pets or jobs. We become so wrapped up in convenience and selfish pursuits that children are often seen solely as burdens. I know they cost money, but you find workarounds if you truly want to. I'm not wealthy. Every day, I get down on my knees and thank God I am a mother. My husband has a heart of gold and is an amazing dad. Go for it. Story 38. I wanted them when I was younger, but I am glad I do not. The world has deteriorated. It is irresponsible to bring life into the mess we have created. Story 39. I never wanted children until I found the right person. I guess I was just too scared to do it on my own. My husband is the most caring person I know. We don't have kids yet, and we recently had an abortion. However, that experience opened our eyes to the realization that we really want to have a child as a symbol of our love eventually. Our finances are coming together for us to actively start trying without looking back. We're really excited about our future. Story 40. I want them in the future, but not right now because I am not married or financially stable. The economy is not in good shape at the moment, so hopefully, one day it will happen. Story 41. I had 3. I grew up never knowing there was an option and truly wanting them. I was maternal from the start. The first one was a surprise and not good timing. I am a good mother. I love them the most. But don't ever have children for love. That's what pets are for. Unconditional forever love. Children aren't that. There can be some of that, but a lot of the time it's one-sided, uncontrollable, frightened, anxious love. If you do it right, it has to end with them separating from you. So all that said, if I knew there was a next time around, I'd consider not having children. I would focus on a few pets and my own goals and achievements. If anything, if I had to do it again, maybe I'd have one late in life. But I did that in this life, and my energy is much lower than what the younger ones have. So take that for what it's worth. If you are a woman, accomplishments, personal achievements, personal time, and children are very hard to balance. Story 42. On the side of having 2 of them, I would have had more if finances had allowed at the time. They require a lot of work but are totally worth it. Story 43. I would like to have children in the future, but I am currently not in a relationship. If I do not meet anyone, I am okay with not having children. Story 44. Once I can afford to live on my own, I will have children. I want a family and the ups and downs that come with it, but I will not bring a child into the world to live a poor life, struggling for everything because their mother could not provide them with a stable foundation in early childhood. Story 45. I want to be married first. I know it may seem old-fashioned, but that's important to me. If that happens, great. If not, then so be it. Story 46. I would love to have a family of my own with children, but I don't think I will ever grow enough as a person to give them everything they deserve. I am also afraid of having to do it alone, whether by choice or circumstance. Story 47. It is the most enjoyable experience I have ever had. Every day I interact with them is filled with joy. It can be challenging at times, but that only enhances the happiness they bring me. Ultimately, I feel fortunate to have wonderful children. When I am around other people's difficult kids, I can't help but think about what it would have been like if my own children were that bothersome. Story 48. I wouldn't mind them, but I would feel incredibly cruel bringing a human being into this world as it is. Life is tough. I'm currently struggling with financial and mental challenges, and the world seems to be heading in one direction: down. I can't imagine bringing a life into this world without feeling extreme guilt. Story 49. My husband and I initially thought we wanted children early in our marriage. However, it didn't work out, and ultimately it was for the best because life is good now. We can do what we want when we want without the added financial stress, conflicts over responsibilities, and all the stress associated with having children. Story 50. You shouldn't feel pressured to have children by your spouse or family members. You should only have kids when you are ready. Some people never want to have children, and that is perfectly fine. In an ideal situation, you would wait to have children until you are financially stable, but that does not always occur. I love children, but I do not want any of my own. I enjoy spending time with my nieces and nephew and then sending them home afterward. Story 51. I have wanted to have a child since I was a child, but I don't think I would want more than one. Finding a partner to have a child with is the more challenging aspect. I feel a stronger connection with older women who generally already have children and are likely not looking for any more. If a woman does not already have children, it is important to carefully assess her character. As a man, I know that we often face disadvantages in family law, so I need to consider whether she would love her child more than she resents her ex-partner and whether she would prioritize the child's best interests. You can often gauge this with a single mother. I know men who remain in unhappy relationships purely because they fear that if they break up, they will lose the chance to see their child again or, at best, only have limited visitation. Story 52. Only have them if you know you are ready emotionally and you are with someone you want to spend forever with. I have 5 and do not regret it at all. They are amazing individuals. Story 53. I really want children, but I don't want to give up my career. I want a partner who will share the same responsibilities and take time off as well. I dislike how older people judge me for my choice or tell me that once I have children, I will understand. They often say that children simply need their mothers. I want to take time off and spend time with my children later. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to stay home for 2 years and then work only part-time while my partner takes 2 weeks off. In Europe, it is not like in the United States where you rarely get time off. Story 54. I didn't want any children when it was biologically possible, and I still don't now that that time has passed. I loved spoiling my niece and nephew, and now I'm enjoying spoiling their kids. But I know my own personality and habits, and if I couldn't go home at the end of the day to a quiet home and wake up with only my cat demanding my attention, I would rapidly become an unhappy person who shared that unhappiness with those around her. People say that having children changes how you relate to them. The whole "it's different when they're your own" idea. There were over 500,000 reported victims of child abuse in the United States in 2022, the most recent year for which we have solid statistics. Over 1,900 children in the United States died from parental abuse or neglect that year, too. And there are many more abused children who never make it into the official records. So I'd say the biggest difference when they're your own is that you can do a lot more harm to them than if they aren't in your home every day. So for everyone who wants to have children, I say, great. I will support all parental support measures, such as school programs, tax breaks, and parental leave. I will respect parking spots for expectant mothers and support initiatives for better nursing facilities and expanded sick leave. I'm thrilled to see my tax dollars going to school lunches and playgrounds. I have taken on extra work so coworkers could take parental leave, and I have changed diapers for children who will probably never visit me in my future nursing home. But I would be a bad full-time parent myself. The summary is, I think those who want children should have them, and those who don't want children should never be pressured to change their minds. Story 55. I had a difficult experience giving birth, but I love raising children. I currently have 4 kids at home, 1 biological child, 2 stepchildren, and custody of a family member's child. I would love to foster children once my current kids grow up and move on. Story 56. I have 3 children. They are amazing, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. However, it has been difficult because pregnancy is very challenging for me physically, and I cannot go through another 40 weeks of it. Story 57. I want children, but I don't want to be married, so I don't think I will have children. I know people have kids outside of marriage, and that's fine for them, but it is not something I would do. Even if a woman said, let's have kids and we don't need to be married, I wouldn't want to put her or myself in a position to become a single parent. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Story 58. I don't want any, unless I'm a multimillionaire. At least then, with finances sorted, there is one less thing to worry about. I can afford a nanny, which means that kids won't limit my mobility and freedom. Story 59. I got them and love them. They are hundreds of miles away. I have hers and he is upstairs still sleeping and not working at 45. We are 2 years away from moving to the Midwest, and he is not going. I am leaving my tent behind for him. Story 60. I would love to have 1 or 2 of my own. I'm 31 years old and just spent last night searching for options for co-parenting. The difficulty is finding a woman to do it with. Story 61. It should be an enthusiastic yes. If you're uncertain, wait until you are sure. It is better to regret not having children than to regret having them. Do not let someone persuade you into having children because it is important to them but not to you. Additionally, do not have more children than you can afford on your own. Many people end up as single parents unexpectedly due to divorce, death, addiction, or the other parent changing their mind. If you are a man and do not want children, it is your responsibility to prevent pregnancy. If you do not want to be sterilized and are still having sexual relations, it is irresponsible because you have no control over your sperm once it leaves your body. If she decides to continue a pregnancy, you may be required to pay child support. If you are a woman and do not want children, the same point applies. There are resources available to help you find doctors willing to perform sterilization surgeries for those who desire them. Story 62. If you want them, and you're mentally, emotionally, and financially ready, go ahead and pursue them. Otherwise, do not. Story 63. No chance. I have faced too much genetic difficulty to become a somewhat odd but happy adult. Maybe I would adopt if I met the right woman. However, I am also actively avoiding relationships. Story 64. I didn't want children and was quite sure I wouldn't have any when I was 18 to early 20s. However, now that I'm married and have a very supportive partner, I am so happy to be pregnant with our first baby. Scary but also very exciting, and I know it will be rewarding. Story 65. On a personal level, I don't feel equipped to care for another person as I would like to. Generally, I believe one should be convinced that the world is and will likely remain a good place to live. However, given current developments, I lack faith in that notion. There have always been individuals who choose to have children, even during times of war, and personal reasons may eventually outweigh these doubts. Nevertheless, considering the current state of affairs, I feel I would struggle to justify bringing a child into this situation. Story 66. I want 1 or 2 kids, but I also want to transition into a man. I feel that having kids is non-negotiable. Story 67. I am not having children, and there are many reasons why. Ultimately, I do not want to be a parent. I would rather regret not having children than to have them and regret their existence. More people should be honest about this. Story 68. Not for me. I don't condemn people for having children in principle, but if you're doing it just because it's expected of you or because you think babies are cute or you want to build a legacy, then don't do it. The likelihood of negatively impacting that child and the adult they will become is higher. It's not about you. From someone who has debilitating mental health issues from a difficult family system, I judge you harshly if you don't take being a parent seriously. Story 69. Definitely want. I just got back from Arizona after a year, and my little cousin, after getting off the school bus, literally ran into my arms. I was so happy. Now imagine that feeling but with your own child. Yes, that fills my heart. Story 70. I am uncertain about starting a family. I am 29 and my husband is 33. I was strongly against the idea for a long time, but in recent years I have become curious about it. Unfortunately, given the current political climate, I do not feel confident or stable enough to bring a baby into the world, and I likely won't for a long time. This is something I resent and struggle with, as I do not feel free to consider this choice. I am worried I could face legal issues if I miscarry, or that I won't receive proper care if I have a complication. Additionally, I am concerned that we will not be able to afford our own lives, let alone support a child. The reality is that no matter how much I want to be a mother, there is very little support in society for raising a family. I also have chronic health issues and I am terrified of childbirth. Maybe my husband should consider a vasectomy and we can end the discussion, as I also dislike being on birth control. Story 71. I would like to, but I cannot seem to find someone I would be willing to have children with. I do not want to be unhappy as a single parent. Additionally, the rising cost of living makes me question if it is worth it. Story 72. After experiencing the joy and challenges of having 2 children, I decided to cut out the possibility of having a 3rd child through a doctor's guidance. They are the best thing in the world and the most difficult task for me, and I would never give them away. Sometimes I wonder if this is some mild form of schizophrenia. Story 73. I have known that having children would never be in the cards for me since I was about 11, so I never let myself get attached to the idea. I like children and they seem to like me. I have helped watch over kids in my family, but I will never have any of my own. Story 74. I had two children. One was planned while the other was somewhat planned. Parenthood complicates life. Children are expensive, test your patience constantly, and occasionally make you dream about tossing them out the window. However, they have also made me a better person. They forced me to strive for the betterment of my life for their sake. And not a day goes by without a moment of thankfulness, however brief, that they are my family. I would rate the experience a perfect 10, but I will not have more children. Story 75. As a young parent, I absolutely love being a mom, and I plan to have another. However, do not underestimate how much work it is. It is a serious sacrifice in every aspect. It is beautiful and eye-opening, but it is not for the weak. Story 76. I always wanted to have children while growing up, but I don't feel that way now. I believe the decision will mostly depend on my partner. Overall, I would prefer adoption because there are children who need parents, and bringing more children into a world in its current state seems a bit unconscionable to me. Story 77. I always thought I wanted them as it was what people did. After many years of therapy, I realized that it was actually what my mother wanted. So now I am in no rush, but if I meet the right person, I would certainly be open to it. Story 78. I'm in the midst of it with a 3 or 5-year-old. One child would have been easier, but I'm glad I got the pair. They can entertain each other. I can't retire, of course, but that's a topic for another day. Story 79. I have known since I was a child that I never wanted children. My partner also doesn't want children. We are a good match. Story 80. I might want one someday, but not anytime soon. I definitely want to feel the thrill of watching my own child succeed, but I am too overwhelmed in life right now to even consider having a child. Story 81. When I meet the right guy, I will probably either pursue surrogacy due to health problems or become a foster parent and adopt, as there are many children in the foster care system. Story 82. I have been a temporary babysitter for family members in the past. I quickly realized that I do not enjoy doing that by myself. I see no point in spending my money on babysitters. I would rather spend that money on things that I find more enjoyable. Therefore, I do not plan to have children of my own. Story 83. I view having children similarly to having a dog. They are adorable from a distance and enjoyable to play with, but if I have to care for them for more than a few hours, then I'm done. Story 84. All dependent on my future financial situation or my future career. If I have a partner who makes me feel safe and is willing to share childcare responsibilities. Story 85. I have two sons, both nearly grown. They are the light of my life and the reason I keep going when nothing else can. Story 86. I don't want children. Even if I did, I wouldn't be able to afford to provide them with a good life, so I still wouldn't have kids. Story 87. I am neutral about it. I do not have a strong desire to have children or be a mother, but sometimes I imagine what it would be like to raise kids and take joy in that experience. I have also thought about what I would name them. I am fine with having no children or having children. It depends on my partner. However, my limit would be 2. I am not willing to undergo pregnancy more times than is reasonable. Story 88. I never wanted children. I have been told since I was 16 that you're a girl. You'll definitely want kids eventually. Then I hit my 20s. I still didn't want them. When my 30s arrived, I still didn't want them. Now, in my late 30s, I am married to a man who shares that mindset and has had a vasectomy. We are happy to be child-free. However, I believe that people who want kids should absolutely have them. Have them on my behalf. Have them on yours. I don't care what you do with your life if it doesn't directly impact me. People should make the choice that is best for them. Children are the future adults, not just a novelty toy. Story 89. Some days I really don't want them, but I already have 2. I can't imagine my life without them. I love those little gremlins deeply. Story 90. My wife and I, aged 49 and 52, chose not to have children about 15 years ago. It was certainly the right decision for us, and today we joke about it when we observe what society has become, reaffirming our choice. Story 91. If something happened to my brother and his girlfriend, and no one else was a more suitable guardian, I would raise my nephew in a heartbeat, even if it cost me my husband. However, having children of my own is something I do not desire. I have witnessed too many neglected children in my life to want to bring any into the world. Story 92. I don't have the money, patience, desire, or future goals necessary to have children. There are many things I want to do, but not enough money to accomplish them. Additionally, people should prove they can successfully raise a pet before attempting to raise a child. Story 93. I planned to have a child. Then I spent 10 years trying to have one. There was no success and no savings. Adoption is prohibitively expensive. People don't realize that they think I'm one of those career women who sacrificed my desire for motherhood. It's a very personal choice, and some people don't get to choose. Story 94. Honest answer here. I am a 37-year-old female with 2 children under 3, and I have the best husband alive. I couldn't have asked for a better partner and father. It is the hardest, most emotional, most fun, and most unique experience of my life. I feel constantly frustrated. But then my 2.5-year-old does the most amazing thing I have ever seen, and the frustration just fades away. I can see the world through her eyes and understand the magic of life and the importance of play. Do I regret it? No. Do I sometimes miss the self-indulgent life I could have had without children? Sometimes. Overall, I am quite happy. Story 95. I want options. My girlfriend wants children. The only problem right now is that we are looking to build a house. In my opinion, the place should come before having children. Story 96. I believe that if you want them and are committed to taking the necessary time to raise them, you should pursue that. I never thought I would be good at it, so I never tried. Story 97. If I'm in love with the guy I'm with and planning on getting married, I do see him as a father of my children. I don't see any point in not having kids then for me. Story 98. I am currently pregnant but suddenly dreading it and considering adoption, even though this was a wanted pregnancy. I am in so much denial that I do not want to go to my doctor's appointments. Story 99. I would love to have children, but I can barely take care of myself right now. I want to wait until I am fully ready to take on that responsibility and ensure that I will be excited when it happens. Story 100. I want to have children, but this feels like a terrible time to try. I'm okay with waiting. None of my closest friends are having children, so that makes it easier. Story 101. I have a fear of children due to raising my brother in an abusive and neglectful household. The way I see it, I've done my time. If children are ever in my future, they will be adopted and will definitely not be younger than 5, if I can help it. I know it sounds questionable, but I cannot reasonably care for a toddler, and it would not be fair to the child to place my issues on them. Story 102. This is Reddit. You will receive many similar responses. I did not have any strong opinions until I was in my 20s and started to feel my maternal instinct kick in. I now have an older son and twins. They are wonderful, but parenting is hard. I would not recommend it unless you are fully invested in the process. Story 103. I have no interest in having children. In this economy, I struggle to afford food for my boyfriend and myself, so it would be unwise to have a child. Story 104. No. For many reasons, I don't really like kids much. I have a lot of genetic issues and mental illness in my family that I don't want to pass on. Additionally, our world has many challenges, and I don't want to bring people into it. Story 105. We absolutely want children, but we are waiting until we finish school and establish our careers so we can be available for them and provide the best life possible. Story 106. I am not going to have children for several reasons. Mostly because I have many issues that could be genetic, and I would not wish them on anyone. Additionally, I have a problem with anxiety, and I cannot imagine worrying about another life on top of my own. Story 107. I personally, at 19, do not want to bring children into this world. It is too difficult to expose them to such a troubled environment. Story 108. I don't want them, but if I have them, I will do everything in my power to ensure they are well fed and clothed, and I will try to teach them better than my parents taught me. Story 109. I didn't want children for a long time, and neither did my partner. Then, I became pregnant after an accident. We were scared, but we accepted the situation and ended up becoming quite excited. Unfortunately, I lost the pregnancy, but that experience made us realize we actually wanted children. I am now 15 weeks pregnant. Story 110. When I met the right person, I knew I wanted to have children. How many? We discussed it. Was it hard? Of course. One time, my 3-year-old asked me if it was hard to take care of them. I was giving them a bath at that time. I have two. I looked them straight in the eyes and said, yes. Then I smiled at them and added, I love it. Looking back, time went by so fast, and we tried to enjoy them as much as we could. They are in their 20s now and pretty much on their own. It is not a smooth ride. Lots of crying, whining, tantrums, accidents, and troubles. We didn't go to school to learn to be parents. It was a constant learning experience for all of us, parents and children, what worked, what didn't, and what needed improvement. But I would not change a thing, both the good and the bad. It's what gave meaning to my life and my spouse's. These are memories that will last many lifetimes. Story 111. All I have ever wanted was to be a dad. But I am just so scared to have a daughter or a child who is part of the LGBTQIA+ community, because it would break my heart to see them treated so horribly. Story 112. Where do I stand? One foot on the neck, the other on the abdomen. With all seriousness, becoming a parent has been something I have dreamed of all my life. When I was a child and my friends wanted to grow up to be firefighters, soldiers, or truck drivers, I always said, I want to be a father. Parenthood has been incredibly fulfilling. I cherish my children immensely, and I love being a father. Story 113. As a woman, it is extremely frustrating when I say I do not want children because of how people react, and I have a lot of reasons. They are expensive, and I cannot afford them. My parents set a horrible example for me, and I am still healing from childhood trauma. I would not know how to be a good parent. My parents are also divorced, which has had a profoundly negative impact on my life. I am terrified of having a child with the wrong man. My parents did not think they would get divorced when they got married, so what would make it any different for me if I ever got married? I do not want to risk having a child and then splitting from their father. My brother is 15 years younger than I am, and he has been such a nightmare that it turns me off from ever having children. This is significant. It will be very hard for me to get pregnant, stay pregnant, and have a healthy child due to health issues. There is also a good chance that if I did have a child, it would do irreparable damage to my body. This is particularly frustrating because many people pressure me on why I would not want to carry a child. I most likely cannot have them, but that is not something I want to disclose to every middle-aged woman who inserts herself into my business. It is also hurtful to constantly hear that this is what women are put on this earth for. Why am I here then? This is related to the above. I have an autoimmune disease that keeps me exhausted. There is no way I would be able to take care of a baby through the night or have the energy to deal with a child. Why would I have a child if I am not completely certain I want one? That is not fair to any child. I have held this opinion since I was in high school. Everyone told me I would change my mind. I am 27 and have only become more firm in not wanting children. My parents are starting to panic. Story 114. Not for everyone. There needs to be some form of approval because each generation is more diabolical than the last. Story 115. There are some people who should not have children. Most individuals will benefit themselves and society by having children, but it is important to wait until you find the right person to do it with, and it is probably best to get married first. Ultimately, it is not my place to dictate your life choices, so take my advice. Having at least one child at some point in your life might be a good idea, with as many grains of salt as you see fit. As for me, I have children, so I support this perspective. Story 116. No, thank you. I'm fine. Kids are like potbelly pigs. They are cute and funny when I visit them, but I do not want one at my house all the time. Story 117. I alternate between not wanting any and really wanting just one. I'm not ready right now, so I have time to think, at least. Story 118. I'm not having children. I was a nanny at 18 and decided that was not for me. I have no idea how people can afford to raise kids right now. I can't even afford to live on my own. Maybe one day, when I'm more stable in life, I'll consider adoption or fostering. Story 119. I wasn't planning to have any, and then I met my wife. I can't imagine not having our beautiful daughter. I didn't feel like my life was lacking anything before, but she has brought a whole new purpose and depth of love for life and my fellow humans, along with some stress about the future. Story 120. I just received the news that I am finally getting a hysterectomy after waiting for 20 years. What do you think? Story 121. I have ended a couple of really good relationships because they wanted children. I respect that desire, but I honestly view having children as something to be avoided at all costs. Story 122. I never wanted kids. Although I would be happy not having any children, my partner and I both agree that if I were to get pregnant, we would be happy and capable of providing a good life for the child. So, if it happens, but we are not trying to make it happen. I would be content without kids, but I don't think it would be a bad thing if we ended up with one. Story 123. It has been the most meaningful aspect of my life. It feels more complete with children, watching them grow and develop into their own individuals. I do love all children and always have. However, children are not for everyone, especially given how modern society is structured. I believe many more people would have children and enjoy parenthood if modern life were not as stressful. Story 124. No, thank you. I wanted them when I was younger, but now it is a definite no. Additionally, I do not enjoy life enough to try to convince the little ones I raised to appreciate it as well. Story 125. I have two, and I love them more than life itself. However, I miss my old body and the freedom of not having the responsibility of others. Story 126. No thanks. I'm actually great with kids and very nurturing in general. I'm also very empathetic, but I need my alone time to detox. Just having cats already feels like I'm tied down more than I'd like. Even though I love and spoil them dearly, my only regret is not being able to give my dad grandchildren. He has never pressured me into it, but I know he would love to be a grandpa and would be an awesome one. I am really hoping my brother can carry that mantle. I would consider fostering when I'm past working age. I know I'm missing out on something special, but I feel that to be a mother or parent in general, you should truly want to be one, not just as part of life. It requires total dedication. Story 127. I want kids, but only when I have enough money to pay my bills 10 years in advance, and a partner I have been with for several years who agrees with me on every aspect of parenthood. Neither of these things is realistic, particularly the latter, so I probably won't have them. Story 128. I feel it is important to emphasize that you should not have children if you cannot provide for, love, and nurture them. It should not be a decision made lightly. I believe more people, regardless of gender, should have access to birth control methods and abortion. I am astonished at how long it is taking for Vasagill to become widely available for males who do not want children. Story 129. I didn't want children for the longest time, but when I found out my father was dying, my feelings changed, and I don't know why. I was in my early 30s at that point. We had two, and it was hard at times, but now I'm glad I did it. Story 130. Have them already. I can't kill them now. Just kidding. I love them. I love most kids out there. However, I don't love abusive, absent, addicted, or neglectful parents of other kids. Story 131. I don't have them, I don't want them, and I don't need them. The hardest part about being a child-free female has been trying to find men who also do not have and do not want any children. Story 132. Every time one of my friends with children tries to convince me it was a good decision and I should do it too, it sounds like they are actually trying to convince themselves. If you could still have a child the way my parents had me, where once I turned 5, they just let me go play anytime I wasn't at school or doing homework, I think it would be great. But I look at my sister's life, which completely revolves around arranging the logistics of her children's various activities, all of which have to be supervised by an adult. I'm not signing up for that. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.